Jeff, thank you. Now, Senator Bernie Sanders' campaign is up in the air tonight. He's staying off the trail for the time being and is in the hospital right now after a heart procedure. As chief political correspondent Scott Thuman reports, Sanders had 2 stents put in for a blocked artery.
In what seems like an almost endless series of campaign appearances, Bernie Sanders, like many candidates, has been tireless on the trail.
I'm not going to give you a long speech. I'm going to give you a very long speech. You asked for it, all right.
Then word that Tuesday night he felt chest discomfort and was hospitalized, where doctors found a clogged artery and inserted 2 stents. Sanders has canceled all campaigning until further notice.
The senator has a very, very committed base of support that also act as surrogates across the country. So I think that you're going to see a lot of folks that work with him go into overdrive to cover for some of the events that he won't be able to make.
Candidates over the years have occasionally been sidelined during races, which some argue may have hurt their chances. Hillary Clinton's near collapse from pneumonia and time off for recovery led to doubts about her health and stamina. And a knee injury stopped Richard Nixon from campaigning for 2 weeks, which some say hurt his image against a more youthful John F. Kennedy. The age and well-being of candidates has often been a concern. One 73-year-old Ronald Reagan tried to play in his favor.
I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
I think that there are some voters who are concerned about age. It's another reason why you see Mayor Pete Buttigieg rising as high as he is in the polls and competing. It's why Senator Kamala Harris and Senator Booker are not out of the running yet. 5
candidates are now 70 or older: Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, Bill Weld, President Trump, and Elizabeth Warren. In Washington, Scott Thuman.
Again, the senator's health has a lot of folks wondering what this could ultimately mean for his campaign, even if he gets back out on the trail. Joining us now with some insights, Dr. Mark Caleb Smith, who's a professor of political science and the chair of that department at Cedarville University. Dr. Smith, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
We just heard Scott Thuman mentioning there and running through the story about the narrative that Sanders may be considered too old to run for president. So in your thoughts, does the surgery play into that narrative, or do you think he can work this to his advantage somehow?
Yeah, I think that it does damage the senator at least a little bit. I mean, if this were a younger candidate where health or this wasn't the sort of concern, then I think it really wouldn't be as big of an issue. But for the oldest candidate in the field to have a relatively serious heart condition, I think that it does damage him. Now, I think that it's minimized a little bit because his closest challengers are still relatively old as well. It might be a little different if they're a 40 or 45-year-old running in second place.
Oh, so which Democrat do you think perhaps benefits from this, if any?
I mean, right now, it looks like everything's coming up for Elizabeth Warren. I mean, comparatively speaking, she's the younger of those 3 candidates who are sort of in the top tier status. She also seems to be a little bit like Sanders ideologically, and I think she's an easy way for voters to sort of move away from Sanders if they choose to do that. And so, given Vice President Biden's recent issues when it comes to the Ukraine, I think Senator Warren's actually in a pretty good position right now.
Well, while we're talking about Joe Biden, at least essentially here, the fact that he's one of the older candidates that's near the top, he is also wrapped up, of course, in this scandal of the Ukraine call. So while we have you here, the campaign has already taken hits before this. Do you think he makes it out of the primaries now?
You know, I think he still probably should be considered the front runner, given his name recognition, given his appeal to various wings of the Democratic Party. I think he's still in a relatively good position. But I think he's much weaker now than he was 2 weeks ago or two months ago. So right now, I would say it really is a 3-person race, and any of the 3 candidates could potentially win.
All right, Dr. Mark Caleb Smith with Cedarville University. Thanks for your time tonight.